Hi everyone. So today we are presenting, the 8 of us, well actually a couple people couldn't make it, so I'll be speaking on their behalf, but we are the Urban Morgan Fellows of Summer 2018. So we went all over the world. We had a couple people in domestic work here, and we also had people all over other parts of the world, Europe, Africa, you name it. So we all, although, in different places, we're furthering the mission of human rights and Urban Morgan. And so our mission today is hopefully to inform you about this program, how you can get involved, and hopefully convince you to go abroad, because we all definitely think we should. So now I'm going to turn it over to Francesca, who's our first presenter, about her time in Georgia.
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Francesca Gottardi, and I spent my summer at the Ministry of Internal Affairs in Georgia. So in my presentation, I will tell you a little bit about Georgia, give you some key facts, talk about my experience at the ministry, talk about the ministry, my duties and while working there, and why I recommend this experience. So here are some key facts about Georgia. If you don't know much about it, don't worry. It's a small country in the Caucasus, and the capital city is Tbilisi. 4 million people are living there. The currency is Georgian lari, and the language is Georgian, the official language. The type of government is a semi-presidential democratic republic with a president that is the head of state, and it's currently represented by Georgi Margelashvili, and a prime minister that is the head of the cabinet of the ministries, head of the government, which is Mamuka Batatse. So here is a little map of Georgia. Georgia borders on the north with Russia, east with Azerbaijan, south Armenia and Turkey, and then with the Black Sea. And an interesting aspect about this tiny little country in the Caucasus is that about 20% of its of the country itself is occupied by Russia. So this is part of what made my experience there under a human rights perspective particularly interesting, because of course this situation causes tensions and a situation that it's interesting to study under the human rights perspective. So the ministry is organized the government, the Georgian government is organized in 14 ministries, and one of those is the Ministry of Internal Affairs. So the minister, which is there in the picture, represented in the picture with me, Georgi Gakaria, is the representative of the Ministry of Internal Affairs. And then there are 4 deputy ministers. One of those is Natia Mezbishvili, that help Georgi Gakaria carry out his daily mission. So the function of the Ministry of Internal Affairs are threefold. First of all, the ministry oversees the police force. Then it's in charge of safeguarding public safety and maintaining civil order. So a difference that I noticed with the US is that the activity of the Ministry of Internal Affairs in Georgia is very much centralized, while here in the US, that's not the case. And in terms of Georgia's relationship with the European Union, they are there, they're visible, and Georgia, although it's not part of the European Union, is striving every day to comply with EU legislation and to align its values with the European Union. Also to give the strong message of being a Western civilized country that shares those values. So my duties were multifold. So first of all, I was reporting directly to Deputy Minister Natia Mezbishvili, who is a former LLM, as I was last year. So we could immediately relate on the experience we had here at the University of Cincinnati. And again, she's in a very high up position right now, and that's the person who I was working for. So my daily work consisted in taking care of portfolios, and in particular, my asset there was to conduct international legal research. As my background is both in civil and common law, that was an interesting asset for them. So I researched on cybersecurity, and in particular, cyberbullying. And then I compiled a portfolio on the police force with a comparative perspective, and in particular I analyzed the role of police force when it came to the relationship and their way to behave towards minorities and juveniles. And I also compiled a dossier on domestic violence. Then part of my duties were also to attend conferences, go to events, and then report back to the ministry. So the atmosphere at work was very relaxed, very stimulating. It was of course very gratifying to be part of a structure that would otherwise be very difficult to access, and to see how politics and law in the making work at a governmental institution of that level. And then it was particularly interesting to me to witness that women were given a very prominent role. So 2 of the 4 deputy ministers were women, and many of the lawyers working in my department were also women. So for me, mostly young women, so for me it was interesting and stimulating to work hand in hand with professionals of the same gender that could be an inspiring example for me. And the schedule was Monday through Friday. I worked full-time, and again, the atmosphere was really positive, and I felt really challenged in my daily activities. So here's why I recommend this experience. First of all, to challenge yourself. Second, it's an eye-opener to what other realities might look like, and to other ways to approach the law. And it is also a great way to challenge your practical legal skills, and to just get off the books and put your skills into practice. And of course, it's a way to experience a new culture and to travel. As most of us in our free time also had the opportunity to visit the bordering countries. And of course, every experience of that kind carries an intrinsic networking and resume value. So here's why I recommend it. And this is my thank you, Madloba Didi, to the Urban Morgan Institute, and in particular to Professor Lockwood and to Nancy for allowing me to be part of this incredible experience. So thank you, and for any questions, I'll be around.
Thank you, Francesca. So hi everyone, my name is Kennedy WOMACK. I think I know most of you. My externship abroad was in the Hague, Netherlands at the Special Tribunal for Lebanon. So in very brief detail, there's much that could be said about it, so I can't go into all of it. But the Special Tribunal for Lebanon, or STL, which I'll call it for short, is a tribunal of international character. The STL was inaugurated on March 1st, 2009, and has 4 organs, which are the Chamber, the Registry, the Prosecutor, and the Defense Office. The headquarters of the STL are on the outskirts of the Hague, Netherlands, so it's actually in a place called Leidschendam, but we also mainly say that it's in The Hague, and it also has an office in Beirut. The primary mandate of the STL is to hold trials for the people accused of carrying out the attack of February 2005, which killed 22 people, including former Prime Minister of Lebanon, Rafik Hariri. The STL marks an evolution in the development of international justice, with a number of features that do not exist in other international tribunals or courts. It's the first international tribunal to try crimes under national law. The STL prosecutes under the Lebanese criminal codes relating to terrorism and offenses against life and personal integrity, illicit associations, and failure to report crimes and offenses. My internship was in the registry part of the tribunal. So I worked in court management services in the registry. The registry is responsible for the good administration and servicing of the tribunal, and is led by the registrar, and basically makes, in effect, the engine room for any external and internal functions. So court management services provides legal, procedural, and administrative support and services in all matters related to proceedings before the tribunal. It serves as a liaison between the organs to ensure the most efficient use of courtroom time and coordinates the required support and facility services before, during, and after the proceedings each day. CMSS is also responsible for receipt of all filings, decisions, and orders in all trial-related proceedings at the tribunal, as well as the efficient management of court records, administering requests for judicial cooperation between the tribunal, international, and other entities. Finally, the CMS also serves as the in-court representative of the registrar in daily court proceedings. Although I can't get into extreme detail about my internship projects as they are secret until the tribunal is dissolved upon the case conclusion, I can tell you that my primary internship duties were to assist in processing exhibits in specialized electronic data system, including completing accurate metadata fields to ensure search and retrieval capability, to assist with maintaining and compiling reports and drafting submissions, and to assist in completing legal analysis for functions related to the court management responsibilities of the section. So now for the fun part. Life in the Netherlands was amazing and life-changing. As predicted, each day brought new adventures and discovery. It is a bit funny how Holland held up to its stereotypes. There's lots of tall people who are blonde, so many bikes everywhere, and amazing street waffles. People in the Netherlands are also some of the most kind in the world, and I made so many friends there, and I miss it every day. In conclusion, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to travel abroad this summer thanks to Urban Morgan and Nancy and Professor Lockwood, and I guarantee your experience will be nothing short of magical if you choose to do the same. I made friends from all over the world, like Boya, who is from China and hopes me to visit her soon. And you have the most incredible work experience, getting to see monumental international decisions take place firsthand, and ultimately you wake up every day in one of the most beautiful places in the world, and what better can that be? If you even are considering going abroad, please talk to myself or one of my fellow interns about it. I guarantee we can answer any questions or concerns you may have, as we were right in your shoes last year. Take a leap of faith, just do it. It'll change your life. Thank you.
Was Boya at the tribunal?
Yes, she was in the Office of the Prosecutor.
Hi everyone. Hey, so I didn't technically go abroad, but LA can constitute a foreign country in so many ways. So I was partnering with the Urban Morgan. So last summer I did go to Dominican Republic, so that was part of my first year experience. And this year I went to LA to work on immigration cases, which in this climate are very much human rights cases. So I worked with Esperanza Immigrant Rights Project. They are an offshoot of Catholic Charities, so they're not. It's a weird relationship. They're affiliated with Catholic Charities, but they're not exactly under Catholic Charities. So they have a lot more leeway than some other Catholic Charities organizations do. So they're in downtown LA, and they work with immigrants who are unaccompanied minors, and then they have a direct representation program that works with immigrants who are in Atalanta Detention Center. I felt really weird taking this picture and like smiling outside of Atalanta. It was an absolutely horrible place, but I needed something to really know where I was. I know, I was like, should I frown or
It's kind of far away,
you know. A little bit about LA. So this is Malibu. I did take advantage of all the beaches. You should, if you go on an Urban Morgan experience, take advantage of the culture and where you're living. These are a bunch of the interns and some of the staff that I worked with this summer. We were on a march to protest the family separation. So that was a cool experience to be involved in advocacy as well. And the World Cup was this summer, and I was in downtown LA. It was like all Mexican, so we went as an office outing to a Mexican bar, and it's crazy. But I want to talk a little bit more about the work that Atalanta does. The work that Esperanza does. So they have several programs, and if you were to intern with them, you can apply for different programs. So they have a legal orientation program that works in Atalanta Detention Center. So those interns have to go to Atalanta 2 to 3 times a week, which is like an hour and a half away from LA. So it's a pretty intense commitment, but it's really cool. They meet in the morning times with detained immigrants, and tell them about their rights, help them fill out different application processes and different things. So they're actually in Adelanto Detention Center. The LOPC program, the Legal Orientation Program for the Community, is based in our office, and they meet with unaccompanied minors and help them also fill out applications. They do know your rights trainings, and they do a lot more community orientation. There is a help desk inside of the court that Esperanza runs as well. So if you're a part of the help desk, you meet with clients right before they go into their proceedings if they're pro se, so if they don't have an attorney. And there's also a low bono program, so they charge clients a little bit of money and they help them with their processes. I worked in the direct representation program, so we represent immigrants in Adelanto who are detained. And we work with a lot of immigrants who have mental illnesses. There's a case in the Ninth Circuit, it's called Franco, that determined that immigrants who do have mental illnesses do have a right to an attorney, which is really nice. Hopefully it'll be implemented countrywide, but at least in the Ninth Circuit it's a strong case. So a lot of our clients, the government actually pays us to represent them in the administrative proceedings. So my client was a lawful permanent resident who'd been in the U.S. for 40 years. She is severely mentally ill, shouldn't have been in Adelanto. She was hospitalized 5 times during her representation. Her treatment was terrible. It was a really intense case. But we represented her in her legal proceedings to apply for withholding of removal. And we were actually granted the case after I left, so I wasn't able to be at the hearing. But I wrote a filing. I think we filed about 1,300 pages, which I'm sure the judge was really excited to read. But it was all of her medical information, her criminal history records, and I wrote the brief for that case. So I got to be a part of, that was basically the work that I did all summer, was preparing this one case for trial. And these are all the interns that we had. We had a bunch of 1Ls. Actually, most of them are 1Ls. And then I think 3 of us are 2Ls. So if you're interested in this program, you should definitely apply. LA is a cool place to live, and you get to be a part of changing people's lives and helping protect people's rights. This was one of the fundraisers at the end of the year for Esperanza. So yes, definitely go to LA. And if you're interested in immigration, it's a really cool experience, and you can be involved in a lot of different programs. So yeah, if you have any questions, let me know.
Doesn't Ronnie look like the major famous? Love it.
Hi, my name is Ronnie. I went to Gaborone, Botswana, and it was kind of different this year. Typically, they would work with you without the parliament. She was previously the Minister of Education, but a few weeks before I got there, she was switched to the Minister of Infrastructure and Housing. This is Yuria. Yes. So, and then actually when I was there, she was moved again to the, I think it was the Minister of International Affairs. Foreign Affairs, yes. So there wasn't really much for me to do with her at the Parliament, so I ended up working at her law firm, Down Associates, which her son is actually the leader of that. So I got to partake in a lot of general practice law, which is very good because their laws are very similar to ours. Botswana was a British protectorate, so they kind of copied and pasted the British common law. So if you end up going there, you'll be able to not only experience a lot of law, but it'll actually be similar, and you can apply it when you come back to your 2L year. It was very nice. It was a beautiful country, and I blended right in. Everybody thought I was from there until they tried to speak Setswana to me. Then they realized that I was not from there. They were actually shocked when I told them that I was American. But I did actually learn a lot of Setswana. I'm starting to lose it now because I haven't really been practicing. But it was beautiful. This was from a bonfire that we had one night. It was winter there when I went over there, but it was very nice. It was very calming, very peaceful. I know a lot of times you don't really get this view of like the moon and the stars here, so it was very peaceful. I got to cross the border a lot into South Africa. So this is me 1 foot in Botswana, 1 foot in South Africa. I actually tried to go to Madikwe, which is a game reserve in South Africa, but we kind of took the wrong way and went to the wrong gate. So it was like interaction on risk, big fried, roaming free. So hopefully you guys will have more success at seeing more wildlife. Also, while I was over there, I got to work with Kitso. I met her she was also interning at Down Associates. So I basically met like one of my best friends over there. So it'll be a great experience to meet new people and get experience a different culture while also learning transferable skills here in the US. So you should go too.
Hello. Okay. I'm Isabel Johnston. I was working at KENLEY immigration firm in Washington, D.C. So I was also not able to go abroad. And I think my story is pretty similar to Natalia's because we were both doing immigration. I don't remember which was okay. Okay, so I was at KENLEY immigration firm. Wilkes is Lindsay Wilkes, and she went to school here. I met her last year at a human rights conference that was here, and Professor Lockwood introduced us, and he was like, I need you to work together, so make it happen. So we made it happen. She graduated in 2012, and so her firm, she started with her partner, Barsha Kai, about 5 years ago. It'll be 5 years in December, and it's just the two of them. So our office was those two attorneys and then me, and so I was able to do literally everything that I could do. I took the lead on several Central American asylum cases, and I was still able to be kept up to date once I came back because I'm still working for them remotely. So once those asylum cases were granted, I was able to know, which was really cool. I worked directly with the clients. I would be like the direct communication for a lot of clients. And then I also had experience, that's Lindsay and Marcia. I was able to go to court and draft some motions and really just get an experience of like everything immigration. And most of what I do is asylum, so it was mostly asylum related, but we also had some like family petitions, marriage cases. And then the previous picture was, or this is the Library of Congress. The previous picture was at a rally, the Families Belong Together rally that was halfway through the summer, and it was huge. There's the White House. We yelled a lot of things in the direction of the White House. There were a lot of people there. People kept passing out from the heat, but it was a super cool experience. So that was something also really cool about being in DC, just being in the nation's capital, going to this rally. I was able to go to another end family separation rally, just had access to a lot of advocates, and then connected with other attorneys in the area, people who are working in immigration advocacy generally, even like outside of the law. I don't know what else I have.
I think just those four. So
Okay, yeah, so I mean, it was just cool being in DC, getting to explore, going to see monuments, having access to a different kind of cultural diversity that you don't really see as much in Cincinnati, eating a lot of cool food.
Pride Parade.
Pride Parade. I saw Brittany at the Pride Parade, which was really cool. Well, I knew she was going to be in town, but there were like other UC students that were in town for that weekend, so that was cool. Well, another cool thing about DC was that I was able to meet up with people from like the rest of the country that happened to be in DC for specific reasons, like training for their internships. I saw my sorority big from college who was getting her training for an internship in Colorado was in DC, so I was able to see her, which was really cool. I wouldn't have been able to do that outside of the country, probably. So this was just a really good experience to get a lot of good hands-on legal
Did
experience.
you go inside the library?
Yes, I got a card, and that was the only time I went. So
They have that beautiful, right?
oh, like the entire inside is amazing. We took a lot of pictures. But yeah, I think my experience was also kind of weird because since it was just the three of us in the office, I didn't really meet other like law students or have other intern friends. So I was doing a lot of things by myself, but I still had a good time. It was a good growing experience. But yeah, I was only able to do this because of Nancy and Professor Lockwood through UMI. So
Oh no, I just need it for some information. Hi, I'm Rebecca. I went to Galway, Ireland for mine, and honestly, it was wonderful. That's actually a picture of me in front of the building. It's a very small building. That is me and Kathleen. She's friends with Nancy. She's an amazing woman. She's an American. She teaches there, and she really made me feel at home while I was in Ireland because when I first arrived, I'm like, I have no idea what's going on, and she honestly made it so much better. Where's the wrong button? Just kind of like a quick thing. This, where I am in Ireland, is Galway, so it's on the west coast. It is kind of, I think of it similar to like California. It's very kind of like surfer-like. It's where a lot of people go on holidays. And it's about 3 hours west of Dublin, so you can catch a bus from Dublin to Galway and so forth. And it's super nice, loved it. And that's kind of what it looks like. All it is pretty much you can walk all the time. My favorite part was to walk down here by the coast because it's quite rocky, but still it has beaches during like the low tide, and so you can go and chill there. And this is actually, they have a lighthouse, and that's actually Galway right there. You can walk on the lighthouse, kind of look back, and that's like the North Atlantic right there. Extremely cold. I wouldn't recommend swimming in it, especially if you're not used to cold water. And this is the River Corb that runs down near downtown Galway. Just kind of nice beauty shots. It's absolutely beautiful, and yes, it is almost always cloudy. That's why Irish people are so light. It's always cloudy. There's not a lot of sun. There's a good week where it was sunny, and then it was like this the rest of the time. So, and also important thing, it's very important with Irish people, is with the Great Famine. In Galway, a lot of people left Galway. It was the last site of Ireland they had before they left for the Americas. And there's a lot of reminders of the Great Famine, especially this one. This is about how a little girl, she was basically skin and bone. She was starving, and she ended up dying in their care, and the doctors realized that she had not eaten in so long. And that was because even though the crops were failing, the English were still requiring Ireland to ship their food out of Ireland. So it's definitely a very important thing that Ireland really has, because it happened recently in the late 1800s. So I just thought I'd talk about that. And then there are lots of historical stuff, like we're not used to things being younger than, older than in the 1700s, but there's a lot of history, and I love it. And actually, before my internship started, I did a research internship. Before it started, they have an ICC summer school, and that's actually a new ICC judge. She is from Uganda. That is Judge, hopefully I can pronounce her name right, Judge Salmi Balunga Basa from Uganda, and she is now a new judge on there. And so everyone comes from all over the world to learn about the ICC, and in this case, a lot of people from Africa came because we were talking about how important Africa is to it. So I got to meet a lot of people that I would never have met before had I not gone. And so pretty much what I did is research. This is what an average day for me looked like. Just sitting there, scouring the internet, not only for UN global compacts, Security Council resolutions, important international literature that can be used for law, and so forth and so on. So pretty much my day, everything was super relaxed because you just hold up researching on a computer, so it didn't really matter. That's pretty much all I would spend my days. It was pretty easy to do because I absolutely love researching, and you could pretty much, as long as you had internet connection, you could go anywhere to do the research. And I also got some research buddies along the way. Both of them are also from America. That over there, she is Boudica. She is like 20. She graduated from college, super smart. And then that's Dana. She, surprisingly, is actually a law student in Ohio as well. Didn't know that until I met her, so we really kind of formed a little cohort. And yeah, we talked about, war crimes. Kind of felt bad, even though I'm doing human trafficking. That was my research on human trafficking. Boudica had to do stuff in terms of torture and translating and doing transcripts on torture. So that's the stuff we were working with, pretty nasty stuff. But it kind of helped that we all were in it together. And like everyone else, I got to travel a lot. I tried to do my best to travel to a lot of EU countries. I actually traveled with Kennedy to Germany. We walked Berlin for like an entire day. And I also traveled with her to the Netherlands. And I traveled actually by myself to visit Luxembourg because my mom's paternal side of the family actually immigrated from Luxembourg in 1858. And so I wanted to kind of get in touch with my roots. And found the house that they actually lived in 1858. I still actually have relatives that live in Luxembourg to this day. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to meet them. They were on holidays at the time, but they do still live there, and I got to go by their house and everything. So it was kind of wonderful to get in touch with my roots. And yeah, it was an amazing time. I don't really have much more on it, but if you can, do it. It was amazing. I would never have met some people unless I had done this. I think that's the best thing about going abroad is you can meet people that you normally would never talk to. And honestly, the thing with human rights is you just kind of have to see the person. And, if you see the person, you can really, deal with everything. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
So Megan actually, the next two people, so Megan and Lauren both couldn't make it today, so they sent me some pictures and just a little paragraph to read on their behalf. So Megan Dolomire went to the Indian Law Resource Center in Helena, Montana. The Indian Law Resource Center is a nonprofit organization that provides legal assistance and advocates for indigenous peoples across North, South, and Central America. She said that she spent a lot of time conducting legal research and drafting, I just realized I was over there, drafting memos on key issues in the field of federal Indian law, which is the law governing the relationship between the federal government and Native tribes. Megan said she also worked on some of the center's international projects and their project on eliminating violence against Native women. She said that working at the center was incredible and learned a lot about a niche field of law and built relationships with attorneys around the world. She said that if you're interested in indigenous rights, she would highly recommend working at the Indian Law Resource Center either in its Helena or Washington, D.C. office. She sent these pictures. Helena is a beautiful place. I've never been there, but I would love to go now after seeing these. It's just gorgeous, and it just looks so peaceful. So she took those. I'm obsessed. I think that's her boyfriend's arm. This is a cathedral of Helena, I believe she said in her explanation of it. I don't know much about it, but that is there. And yeah, so now I'm Lauren Ashley. So Lauren spent her externship in Bogota, Colombia, where she worked alongside Professor Liliana Sanchez at the University of Javeriana. For her externship, she worked with Liliana on a research project regarding sexual violence in Colombia. Her research revolved around how the Colombian courts have generally treated victims of sexual violence, the prevalence of sexual violence against women in Colombia, and how their judicial system can better respond to claims of sexual violence. She said that overall she had an extremely rewarding time in Colombia and can honestly say that she did not have any negative experiences while in the country. She made wonderful friends from Colombia and still talked with them a great deal and learned a lot about their culture and their current political climate. She said that she was able to use her Spanish, as half of her research was actually in the Spanish language. And so for those of you who speak Spanish and would like to capitalize on your language skill, she would highly recommend doing an externship at Javeriana. For any of you who may have additional questions, she said that she would welcome an email at ashleyellen@mail.uc.edu. It's beautiful. I've never been there also, but it looks great. I want to go now too. These are her, I guess some of the people she met. They look really nice. I don't know them, but, and that's it. So, thank you guys so much for coming.